Going to talk about a deer hunt. Goodly share of my deer hunting over the years has been walking to some spot, some area, or maybe riding my mules or horses to get to where I wanted to go. This particular situation, we had about a foot of snow, and I pulled about close to half a mile off the highway, and I started on a hike. Now, the hike took me basically up some benches, up a ridge. This is the migration trail for our deer and for our elk coming out of the high country. And it was snowing. And it undoubtedly took me something over an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Had kind of an idea of where I wanted to end up, or close to it. Hiking up this long ridge. And of course, in a foot of snow, I have to walk maybe 10, 15, 20 feet at a time and rest and walk some more because it's all uphill. And finally, I got up into an area where I know the deer want to come down the ridge. And a lot of times I've discovered that they wanted to kind of settle in a bench area and spend some time feeding, maybe lay down for a while. And I had a fair amount of advantage because it was snowing, and these deer would probably be on the move somewhat because of the weather. Walking up this ridge, treed ridge, you could see ahead sometimes maybe 40, 50 yards or so. And I was walking along, and of course, in these kind of situations, you don't know when things are gonna happen. And my rifle's loaded with the safety on. I'm carrying a Ruger Model 77 and a fiberglass rimrock stock, fairly lighter weight rifle. Not extremely lightweight, but fairly lightweight. And I've got my scope turned all the way down to 4 power. And just in an instant, a big buck shows up. And it kind of put its head down for a moment, checking maybe for something to feed on. A little bit of feed maybe sticking above the snow. And the deer was pretty much broadside, maybe kind of quartered to me just slightly. And it was something inside of 50 yards, maybe 40, 45 yards. And I put the crosshair right in the armpit and dropped that buck in an instant. Now this is one of the last big bucks that I've killed. This was a tall, not very wide, 4-point with fairly long points, good brow tine. And of course that buck just dropped in an instant. And any time that I am in a situation like this, I always kick the empty out into my hand, put it in my pocket, put a live round in, put the safety on the rifle. And I walked on up to the buck. There were 3 does that were kind of off to the side beyond it a little bit. And of course they bolted and took off, but this buck probably saw me there for an instant, just for a faint instant before I shot him. Anyway, now some work begins, and so I've got to dress this deer out, and I always have my rifle right there because we're covered. This country is covered. That time was really covered with wolves, and I wanted to be prepared if I need be. Well, I dress the big old buck out. I carry a saw, an extra knife, a few provisions and things to eat and something to drink. Well, I dressed him out, had something to eat, had a little something to drink, and so I got him all dressed out. I cut him in half. Cut the deer in half, just about right at the last rib. Cut it in half because now I'm going to have to drag this deer 1/2 at a time down the ridge. It's downhill all the way. Everything is downhill. There's no uphill at all. There's some on the level, downhill. Well, I've got a fairly good track in the snow, having walked in there, and I drag half of it at a time, about 20 feet, and I stand there and rest, and I'd walk back to the other half, and I do this, you know, and this is something over a mile that I walked up this ridge, and it took me something close to 2.5, 2 3/4 hours, just taking it easy, resting when I need to rest a little bit. And this is something that I've done many times like this, but this stood out in my hunting life because everything just fell into place. It just worked perfect. Fairly heavy snow falling all the time that I was there, and that's how it all happened, because these animals were moving in the weather and took advantage of it. Well, I got the deer down to the outfit and opened up the back end, dropped the tailgate, loaded the deer in there, and came home. And this is how I've done so much of my hunting. And the actual hunting itself has always been on foot, but sometimes I'd ride into a particular place to be able to do what I wanted to do, you know, because I know the patterns of these animals, and know what works the best under what kind of conditions. You know, a milder, brighter day or something like that, I might not have seen them. But this weather's got them on the move. It's got them on the move. And our deer hunting, that was some of the last of the good deer hunting that there was. Yes, we still have some hunting. We still have some deer. But it's just a small portion of this herd is left because of mismanagement. And this is a sorry situation. We've got people in our department that are dictating from another part of the state, in this instance from Cheyenne, where the head of the game department is. And then we've got people here at the local office and one thing another, game wardens, biologist, supervisor. And these people don't get back in the country like individuals like myself do, or my son and a lot of other people. and hunt and learn things. They sit in the office, and you can't talk to these people about anything because they just know everything there is to know. Us mountain people, us mountain hands, us mountain men, we know what the score is, and we've been reading sign all of our life. This is how we've become efficient hunters and able to do what we do. And we've got this situation not only just here in Wyoming, but it's all over the country, where these people, they've been educated a certain way. It's just like what we're going through here right at this time. We've got a new, outstanding, wonderful president in President Trump. And the idiot Democrats, all they're doing is just trying to cause aggravation and trouble. And hunting's been everything in my life. It's what my life has been built around, and what I do and where I live. Right now we're sitting up here, about 1.5 miles off the highway. 3 weeks ago it started snowing, and we ended up with 35 inches of snow. And then about a week later we had another 7 inches, and then we've had more since. And we've got somewhere just north of 45 inches of snow. And we've been snowed in here where we live most of the time. We've been out several times, but the wind blows and closes these roads, and it makes it tough on animals to be able to get to feed. The wind's blowing and bared off some ground. We've got deer around feeding this morning on some of the open areas and one thing another. But this kind of weather's going to be tough on our game. And the reason I'm bringing this up in connection with this deer hunt is this is exactly how we're going to lose, part of how we're going to lose our hunting. The game department doesn't have the brains. They do not have the brains to severely limit the coming seasons on our deer herds or whatever else it might happen to be. It's all about politics and money, bound up in a tremendous amount of bureaucracy. This is what's happened to everything. It's all in bureaucracy. They've got to have their damn paycheck, and they got to have their retirement, and the game is last. They'd like to make you think that it's first, but it is not. All the indicators, everything that's been going on over a lot of years, many, many years, especially since these wolves were brought in here over 30 years ago. And it didn't take long for wolves to really wreak havoc in this country and destroyed the majority of our moose populations to the point there's hardly no moose at all, and a lot of seasons are closed and be closed forever, and it'll never come back. And this is where this deer herd is headed. But you can't tell these people anything. It all proves out, everything all proves out to what that they're lacking in doing with common sense. We've got places around North America here where when things get like this, the seasons are actually totally closed. It's cut off until the game can have some ability to be able to spring back somewhat. You can't keep taking it down and down and down. It's just like a savings account. After you've used up all the money in your savings account, what's left? Just like you've used up all the game that's out here, what's left? But they honestly don't care. And yeah, we have an organization called Hunter Nation, and they've got in place something that guarantees hunting. Well, that sounds all really good on the top of the crust here, but that's not the end game, folks. The end game is we can go hunting. But what if there's nothing to hunt? What if there's nothing to hunt? There's a vast difference than having the game to take. If you buy a license, by all common sense, there should be many times over the game than the available licenses, but that's not the case. It's overhunted. It's overexploited for their benefit. And they don't give a damn because they know everything about everything, and that's all that there is to it. Just like what we've got going on here with our political situation in this country. Somebody that actually knows the score and is doing something and getting static, you see, they created the problems. They created the problems, but then they want to tell you how to take care of it. They don't have any idea in the world. They don't want to take care of it. That was all done purposely to destroy this country. That's the same damn thing that's going on with the game departments. They want to put a stop to it. And then have a director of the Game and Fish along the line here say several years ago, but we still have hunting. The guy's sick. Very sick to make that kind of a comment. You know, I'll tell you what, boy, it's really, really sad. I wish that I could, as an individual, correct this myself. I'm pointing it out to everybody because it can happen and happening in the locale and the state and the part of the country that you live in. There's problems all over. So you need to keep in focus this attitude, but we still have hunting. Look out, buddy. That's where the clue is, but we still have hunting. But you notice they never say that we've got the game. We've got a lot of people that have come to this state and went away empty-handed. Never even saw the animals that they came to hunt. Never saw one at all even. Very disturbed. And this is going on all over. And this is all wrong. It has got to change at some point, or else it will